Welcome to this step-by-step men's haircutting tutorial. The hair type in this video is wavy, also known as type 2, and it's medium density, so quite an easy hair type to work with. To keep things simple, I'm going to cut the entire back of the head first. So I'm going to separate this hair from the crown and I'm going to work up towards the occipital bone. That's that bone that sticks out the most at the back of your head. I've got a number 3 guard, which is 10mm, and I'm going to go in with the clipper, curving up towards where the occipital bone is, and I'm just going to take away all this bulk. Number 3 is quite a forgiving guard number. Okay, you won't see really too many mistakes if you're using a number 3. So as you can see with the illustration of the white lines, just go up and glide off of the occipital bone. So we're working from the middle at first and then going over to the left and then over to the right. This is really getting the bulk down initially so that we can make some refinement and do a little bit of tapering before going on to scissor work. At the side, just curve up and away from that weight around the occipital bone area. Here's a good angle where you can see me curving off the curvature of the head. Now I'm going to switch to a 0, which is just 0mm. It's just the blade with the lever closed. I want to just create a little taper. I want to refine the number 3 a little bit. If you only want a number 3, you could probably move on through the video a little bit, but I think it's worth tapering. It makes a nice finish and it's worth learning to do, and it's not that difficult. You can see I've just made a straight line there with the 0. Now what we're going to do is push the lever forward. That's the half position, or 1.5mm, and just move that line up a little bit. The principle here is basically we're going to get longer the closer towards the occipital bone we get. At the side of the neck here, you can see I'm using the corner of the clipper a little bit because this is a nape whorl, so I have to kind of go sideways against that. Now I'm going to switch to a number 1, which is 3mm. So we've gone from 0mm to 1.5 and now to 3. You can see the gradual build up that I'm trying to create here. Again, on that whorl, I'm going to try and go against the direction of that without going too high with the clipper. So I'm not using the whole blade. Let's step up again. So I'm just going to push the lever down. That's now the 1.5 position, which is 4.5mm. I hope I'm not confusing you. You can always go back and watch this again if you need reference. So it's gradually getting longer. The lever gives you 1.5mm of range when you push it down or push it up. So that's how we get slightly longer. I'm going to step back here, back to a half guard. Now, I don't know if you have a half guard. They're really handy to have. It's the same as the lever down on the bare blade, but I find that plastic can glide better on skin sometimes, so I'm using that here. Okay, so with now the 1.5 guard. This is the longest guard I've used so far. It's 4.5mm again. It's the same as having a number 1 on the clipper with the lever down, but for some reason it just cuts better as you get into longer hair. So I'm just curving up into this weight line here, okay, so that I don't have too much of a fast transition from the light skin into the dark hair. Without a stretched out transition area, sometimes the taper doesn't look so good. So I'm going to grab my little Andis T outliner. Now, I'm a big fan of the Andis T outliner. It's what I tend to use. There's good visibility. They've been on the market for a long time, but they hit hard. They make nice lines. So I'm going to make a really straight line down from the ear down to the nape of the neck, being careful not to go inside the hairline. Some people do that, but you just have to remember the hair growth outside the line. You're going to start getting stubble and you'll have 2 different lengths of hair. So let's pull all this hair back from the crown, and I'm going to separate it nice and neat so that I have 2 distinct sections, the front and the back, because in this video I want to deal with the back entirely. Now, if you're a novice, the back is a great place to start because you don't have the person you're working on watching your every move in the mirror. So good place to be cutting and get all that done first. So I want to follow the trajectory of the occipital bone. So imagine that curve from the nape of the neck up to the occipital bone, and I just want to stretch the hair out as if it was going up on that trajectory. And I'm going to take down just the bulk, okay? I'm not too stressed about how neat this is right now, although I will try and make it as neat as possible. But the main thing is that this is taken down to a manageable length. If you've seen some of my other videos, you'll see that I quite like to debulk the area first, and then I will use scissor over comb in a relaxed position so there's no tension on the hair. What I mean by no tension is I'm not picking it up with my fingers like you see here. I like the hair to lie in its natural state on the head. So I'll keep reducing this down. I've worked from the middle all the way over to the right hand side, taking the bulk down to almost behind the ear. Now there's going to be something important about the ear later as a marker point in this haircut. So I'm going to take it down now from the middle over to the left hand side and again over towards the ear. What is the point in this cutting towards the ear? Well, that'll become clear. It's useful for something called overdirection. That sounds complicated. It's not complicated at all. It's fun, it's easy, it's something you can apply to loads of haircuts. So last section here now on the left hand side, and now we can move to scissor over comb. So I'm going to take sections from the top down towards the occipital bone. So the scissor slides in, the comb goes underneath, catches the hair, and then I just cut across the spine of the comb. Okay, it's best to use quite a big scissor when you're cutting this. I use a 6 or a 7-inch scissor because you get a good broad section. I like to use the wide teeth of the comb as well. I find that sometimes when you use the narrow teeth for scissor over comb, they're so tight that they push the hair section up. So wide teeth is all you really need. Here's a good angle. You can see what I'm doing here. Okay, I'm pulling it out further higher up so that it tapers down towards my clipper work around about that occipital bone. The scissors I use, I get from Quartered Steels. I don't receive any commission from Quartered Steels. I just like the scissors. I don't think I would cut with anything else. Somebody asked me recently what is a good cheap pair of scissors. I just wouldn't bother buying a cheap pair of scissors. I have done in the past and they just go blunt really quick. Anyway, let's carry on. We're tapering down towards the occipital bone area. Scissor over comb. Now I want you to look at my fingers, my thumb and my forefinger. That's what flips the comb. That's the important part of this technique. Okay, you can cut along the spine, that's really easy. You can slide a scissor in, that's really easy as well, but it's the holding of the comb that's the tricky part. At the back, normally I'm in a better position here to cut this. I'm having to use my comb to hold the ear out of the way because there is a camera between me and the model. Having covered the back, we need to tie in the sides and then get onto the top. So I'm going to use the number 3 again, that's 10 millimeters. And I'm just using my comb right around about where I think the parietal ridge is. Now that's the bone that sticks out the most on the side. So I'm not pulling my comb down into the hair, I'm just resting it right where I think the parietal ridge is, and I'm bringing the clipper up towards the comb. At the end of this haircut, you're going to learn about a mistake that I made right here. Okay, I'm making a mistake here. I'm going to fix it at the end of the video and I will explain why it happened. Although it may not be completely apparent what has happened yet, but it is an important lesson nonetheless. So really what I want to do now is repeat what I did on the back at the sides. But it is not so involved this time. I'm just using a number 1. And then what I'm going to do is I'll use my little trimmer to trimmer over comb. And the reason that I'm going to use trimmer over comb is because it doesn't require as much work and we can be a bit more accurate with trimmer over comb. So how do we do trimmer over comb? So first we'll address the hair that's hanging over the ear. I'm going to pull that down. I'm finding it really hard to get in a good position here because of where the other camera is sitting, but that's okay. You get the picture, okay? Don't trim in beyond the hairline unless you're doing something kind of quite high end. Some barbers do that if they want to create a really bold line, but unless you're very confident in doing that, don't do it. It can look completely wrong and out of place. On some haircuts it looks great with someone who has the right type of hair for it. The front here, this hair that's coming onto the face, I'll just pull that down onto the face with the comb and trim that away. Just the stuff that's coming onto the face, okay? You can lift the hair with the comb and trim across. This is what you would call trimmer over comb. It's quite delicate. It's only if you want to work on little dark spots. That hair on top's getting right in my way now. I should have probably clipped that up. However, it's not taking too long to deal with that bit at the side. So on the top, I'm going to wet the hair down. Now I always like to cut on wet hair, and I'm going to section this across and work from the front. Wet hair is really important. It gives me control. It gets the hair sitting in its natural position, the way it wants to sit. Okay, so I'm going to pick up sections from the front towards the back. Sometimes you would work from the back towards the front, but on this occasion, I'm going to go from the front towards the back. The haircut's going to be styled towards the back. I can't explain any reason why you would either go from the back to the front or the front to the back. It's a really personal preference. It's up to you, as long as you can pick up a good section and you can see where you were with your last section. So when I pick this up, I'm looking for short hair that I cut before. There it is. And I know I have the right length, so I can cut to that length and then step back to my next section, working my way from the front to the back again. Don't be afraid to comb it through a few times. I can see some short hair there. Trim that down and then step back to my next section. You'll notice I'm not taking all the hair from the front. I'm only taking as much hair as I can manage in my fingers. Okay, so keep working, work your way back. You'll notice as well that what I'm doing is I'm trying to get the comb right in at the root so that the section is nice and smooth. Okay, so the comb goes in right at the root, back in at the root, comb it through. There's the short hair, cut down to that and step back again. In at the root, pick the hair up at the root, cut across. If you don't feel the hair is nice and smooth, just put the comb back in at the bottom, pick it up again and try and get it as smooth as possible. So let's move over now to the side, okay? And what we want to do is, we don't want all this hair on top, so I'm going to pull this back and push some of it over to the side. Basically, just make a middle parting, okay? Throw that over there so that most of that hair we just cut out of the way. And then I'm going to pick up again. Oh, careful. So, here we go. And I can see some short hair at the left-hand side of my knuckle, so I know I've picked this up to the right length, and I'm just going to work my way back. Now, I'm only going to show you this side of this because I don't want to bore you, but this is the way it's going to work. So once you've done this side, you can do the other side of the part. And see, I had too much hair there, so I combed some out of the way, and I can cut again. I'm always picking up, looking for my guide from the previous section. Comb back in, smooth the section out. Try and get your comb, as I said, right in at the root. Okay, so I'm getting in nice and low there. Not much left to cut. Okay. So here comes a really fun part. We're talking about overdirection. So I'm going to take sections now from the back to the front on the side. I have this little marker point, and all my sections from the front, I'm going to pull them back towards the marker point. My marker point is just above the ear. So I'm just going to pull the sections out as normal to the side, and trim away the long stuff that's hanging over until I get towards the ear. Once I get to the ear, that's where we start over directing. What does over directing mean? An over direction is where you pick up a section and instead of pulling it straight out, you pull it back towards the section that you just cut. The reason that you would do that is that you want the hair, as you work your way forward, to be getting longer and longer. So it has to reach further back towards the marker point at the ear. So therefore has to be longer. And because we do it gradually, that then means as you work forward, it gets gradually longer. If you saw my 2-block haircut video, that is a great example of using a marker point and using over direction. So I'm pulling here the front all the way back to the ear, and that's going to mean it's nice and long at the front, but it's blended in. It's also, you know, all works, it fits. I'll pull this down here, and I'm just going to make sure it's nice and even along that line, you know, that curved line that I showed you with the illustration. I'm just going to pick that up, make sure there's nothing just hanging out there. That's all I'm looking for, so it's neat. Now, as I said, there was a mistake here. We'll come back to it later, but it's nothing to do with the over direction. It's just something very minor, easy to fix. Okay, now I'm just picking up. I'm just going to double check these sections, make sure they're blended in, make sure that there's no long hair specifically just sticking out in between the sections from the side and the sections from the top. It's just a little double check. I think I'm happy with that. Now, we'll go over to the other side. I'm not going to show you the whole of the other side, but while I do that, I just want to say that 2-block haircut video, which I think is useful for you if you like this type of haircut, I'll link that at the end of this video. And also, if you enjoy my content and you want to learn more from me, I do teach barbering online, and I'll leave a link down below in the description of this video for where you can find my course online. So here we go. I'm just doing the same as what I did on the other side, except this time I'm standing in front of the client. It's just because of the way my hands are. You might think I'm right-handed because I cut hair right-handed. I'm actually left-handed, but I've always learned to cut hair right-handed, and I can't do it left-handed, which is bizarre. Anyway, on to the next important thing, right? I've matched up both sides. I'm combing it back. Now, I want to blow dry this from the back towards the front now. Why do we dry from the back towards the front? Well, if you start at the front and just blast it over the top, you're just blow drying dry hair onto wet hair. There's the mistake. This is what I was looking for. Okay, the mistake was I didn't go high enough with the clipper. What I should have done was I should have got this little hair gripper, gripped that out of the way, and then I should have gone up a little bit higher with the clipper because there's hair hanging down now. So I'm fixing it bit by bit. I just want to test it. Okay, see, there's still hair just hanging down there. That's hair from the side, it's not hair from the top. So I need to reduce that. I'm just using scissor over comb to reduce it down a little bit further. And then I'm going to test it again. Not sure. I think I'm just going to go back in, put that gripper back there. I'll take a little bit more weight from underneath that hair. Here's a great technique for you. You know, you should use this if you find that there's too much weight. Lift up the hair above, take some weight away from underneath. That looks way better if you ask me. I'm happier with that. I'm just going to make sure there's no corner to come off of that as well. That's a lot better. And at the back, I'm just scissor over combing, just smoothing out the work that I did earlier, looking for any imperfections. This is what I started with, okay? Quite a lot of hair, a lot of bulk, and this is what we've ended up with. I like to comb it through with this big pompadour comb just so I can see how it flows. I like to lift the hair. I like how it tumbles. I love that hair that tumbles at the front. When you blow dry it back, it looks good. I think the length is nice. It's manageable for the client. It's easy to manage. What do you think? Do you like the haircut? Any questions at all? Drop them down in the comments below. But until next time, good luck with your gents' haircuts, and I'll see you in my next video.